everybody, and welcome back for another edition of our complete Born of the Gods set review. I'm super excited. I'm Evan Irwin.
Brad Nelson.
We're talking about some magic cards. It's all going to be sweet. We have Aerie Worshippers. Aerie Worshippers is first. This is our first blue card from Born of the Gods. It is there's the whole cycle of these guys.
Yes.
There's a lot of cycles in Born of the Gods. And this one makes you a Windrake, more or less.
A little bit more inspiring than 2/1/1s.
Yeah, this card actually I really like a lot. It's got it's got the Pillarfield Ox stats.
Well,
as you do.
But Pillarfield Ox stats with abilities are awesome because they have to have 4 power to be able to block this guy. So even if he doesn't get through, they block with a 3/3. You're like, well, next turn I get a Windrake.
Yeah, the best thing I love about this guy is he's just going to start giving you value, and he's able to actually get in and not die.
Mm-hmm.
The other guy, the white one, it's just I just feel he's just going to die every time he attacks,
Yep.
whereas this one is not going to. And that allows you to sort of get lots and lots of value out of him. And I think he's going to be a much higher pick than the white one as a result.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, really good and limited. Arbiter of the Ideal. Okay.
So if you flip over a permanent, you can put it into play.
With a manifestation counter.
What does the manifestation counter do?
Because it's letting you know that it's an enchantment. It's a manifestation.
Oh, it's just to make sure you remember that
of
it's
his
an enchantment.
ideal.
Yeah,
know
I
what's
don't think
happening.
anyone's ever going to do that.
This Sphinx is just weird. I don't know.
I
I
mean,
guess.
I don't know the flavor behind it, but it's an inspired creature that gets you some value, but it's like such a feel bad if it's not one of these permanents. Like, I feel like it should have had that like coin oracle like text. It's like, well, you draw it if it's not. Like,
Right.
You should get the value out of it. You just spent 6 mana and it attacked and it lived and it untapped.
Right. You spent what? Again, you spent the 3-turn cycle to maybe, 60% of the time get something. And if that 60% of the time turns out to be instants or sorceries, I'm talking 40% land,
Yeah.
60% spells. If it's instant or sorcery, then you're just screwed. And so, how far down does the percentages go for this actually to do anything versus you just paying 6 mana for a 4/5 flyer?
Which, I mean, it's not bad. It's not
It's
bad
fine.
stats. And you're going to first pick it. It is big and scary.
You're going to pick, essentially a dragon in limited. Okay. Inspired abilities.
But yeah, I've yet to be inspired by any inspired creature.
Yeah, I mean, even the casual. I mean, like even the commander. I'm like, that's That's difficult to trigger and difficult to hit, and then difficult to abuse. I mean, I guess Scry makes it better.
Scry does make it better. It's a little bit more manipulation.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be good and limited, but of course, not going to see constructed play.
Lord no. Archetype of Imagination.
This is the best in this cycle of the I can do it, but you can't do it.
I can win and you can't.
Yeah. I get this ability, you don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
But it is the best because it just has flying. I mean, we've always seen these, like there's actually just been a lot of these lately. Like Wizards really likes, your creatures all get this ability.
Yay.
But this is by far the best, mostly because flying is like the most abusable ability
Right.
in limited, and you stop them from flying and you get the ability. That's huge. That's
That
such
is-
a huge swing.
That is ridiculous. I mean, like, the white one is amazing in that, it kind of changes combat in a lot of ways and yada yada. But this one just basically makes combat not happen.
Yeah, it invalidates combat.
Like, we're just not combating right now. I'm just going to do my thing. You're going to do your thing. Good luck with that.
Yeah, I can block you, you can't block me.
Right. I mean, fair, right?
And that's why the stats are so low,
Right.
for a 3/2.
Yeah, and even then, though, okay. So, you paid, the way that you can look at this is you pay, you would pay 4 mana for a 3/2 flyer. We've seen that in the past. You pay 2 more mana to just ridiculously flip combat around.
Oh yeah, and I mean,
Worth it.
and when they have a lot of like, well, wait, never mind, they never have a flyer to block this.
Limited All-Star. Chorus of the Tides. Can you hear it?
No, I can't hear it because it's not that great. I want
Speaking of
my
4 mana,
heroic.
speaking of 4 mana 3/2 flyers.
Yeah, I want my flyers to like have an ability that's a lot better than this. Like it's just a 3/2 for 4, so it's like fine. The stats are reasonable. I mean, it's Snapping Drake. I mean, Snapping Drake was sweet back in the past, but I don't want to equip to him just to scry. Like it seems like. Boring.
Yeah, I mean, and equipped to him is even sort of the wrong
Well, not
nomenclature.
equipped, yeah.
You have to target him. You have to use either a spell or bestow or something. And
Yeah.
like all these white cards give you so much insane value. You look at the blue ones and you're like, ooh, really?
You just give us a card draw. Come on.
Yeah.
Try.
I mean, you could have made this a 2/2 flyer, that heroic draw card, and the card would have been sweet.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would just be too comparable to the one that was from Theros.
Yeah, it's fair.
But it was a ground pounder, so it didn't do anything. So flying might be abusable.
Sure. Crypsis. Man, I love this name. This name is amazing. This is beautiful. This is where I'm like, give that guy a high five.
Yeah.
The guy who wrote came up with the name of Crypsis is sweet because there's so many, like when legendary creatures are blah of blah. Like there's just so much of that. It's why I like Tromocrotus, which we'll get to here later. It's so hard, I think, at this point with so many Magic cards in existence to find a name that hasn't been used, to find a term that hasn't been used. And when you find one and it's cool and it's neat and it kind of sort of teaches you some vocabulary at the same time, that stuff I think.
I mean, I'll be honest, I have no idea what Crypsis means.
There you go. But I am inferring that it means to, that you're able to sort of either slip in undetected or that type of thing. Sort of very cryptic, I think, is where that would also come from. But and also being obfuscated or whatever, being hidden like this guy. So yeah, there's a lot of ways, for us to, or for you to sort of appreciate the naming that Magic has to adhere to and has adhered to.
Yeah. As a spell, I think it's going to be okay and limited. It's not something you always want to play. It's more of a sideboard card. Like if you play against a deck that just has a lot of creatures, I like that it can get damage through, or you can trick them when they attack, and you can like untap a guy and block.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, basically, it's an Inspire enabler. That's where the untap it part comes in, and it's a combat trick. That's where the protection part comes in. So it kind of does two things. Again, it's well costed. It has a great name. It's going to be cool in limited. It's not going to be an all-star. It's probably when you're 22nd or 23rd card maybe. But this leads to blowouts. This is a card that people don't play around because most people don't feel it's good enough. So then most people feel like, well, nobody's going to have that stupid card and then blow out. And, it just is what it is. But it's a really good blue trick. Deep Water Hypnotist.
I like this card, mostly because like once you get in one attack, it's going to really screw up combat for the rest of the game, because if you just like stop their one guy from having power and he doesn't have as much toughness as two, then he's going to get to attack again. And it's just a good 2-drop. I like blue 2-drops that can not only just trade with my opponent's stuff early in the game, but also has a kind of cool ability when I'm trying to get aggressive. It's flexible. So
I actually like this one a lot. It's one of those where the inspired ability is more or less, kind of just tacked.
I mean, it's
stuck on there. It's
fine. It's
fine.
combat, and all that Magic is combat, and I love it. I don't want to.
It is combat wonderfulness, but basically it's fine on its own. At the very least, it's more impactful than the white, the Oreskos guy, the inspired gain 2 life. That one I'm like, But at least this one you can say it has, some tricks. You could use Crypsis on this thing, to really mess with combat. When you attack with Hypnotist, people are probably going to block differently or really think through combats differently than they ever would with that white bear.
Because you have to think about next turn.
Yeah, exactly. Think about next turn, and if you have a trick right now, and yada yada. Like those things exist in this limited environment, which I think is brilliant. I think this card is actually really, really good in blue.
Oh, for sure.
Divination, that art is awesome.
Yeah, this is the new, like, I haven't really been,
wow,
that excited about the other divination arts, but like this is just going to be my go-to. Usually I tend to just play the old one just for reasons like I play with my Odyssey Syncopates, my Stronghold Mulches, like Stronghold Mana Leaks. But like I'm finally going to play with the newest version of divination because I think the art is really beautiful.
I bet it looks insane in foil.
Oh yeah.
We sold out of the pre-order of our foil divinations like that.
Wow.
Just disappeared.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Card is awesome. And again, it's divination. It's good. It's fine. It sees constructed play from time to time. When there's no sort of better option, when there's no think twices.
Yeah, it's also like one of the most powerful limited effects. Like divination is a strong limited player because think about how many games in sealed or draft come down to like you getting stuck on like 2 or 3 lands or you mulliganing and you're down a card and all this. And like this card just helps keep you consistent. Right. Just drawing a couple cards lets you make your land drops, makes you have enough options to try to play an actual game of Magic. It's very important. A lot of games are won by, even though you had a tempo loss and played this on turn 3, you get to set up yourself for the rest of the game because you're up that extra card.
Absolutely. Divination, all-star.
Very good card.
Eternity Snare. How about that Eternity Snare?
This is probably the best 6-mana removal spell in the format. I think this card is very good, just for the fact that it deals with bestowed creatures without giving them the bestowed creature.
Very nice. I like that. And it draws you a card. That's appreciated. I mean, it shuts down the whole the whole battleship that they've built, the whole Voltron that they've assembled. You put on this, and I bestowed, and and then I put on this other thing, and you go like, snare it, and I'll draw a card.
Yep.
And you invalidated all those cards, and you got value out of this one. So like in limited, it's really hard to get better than that, even if it's a 6 mana.
Well, I mean, we've already seen that it takes a lot to be a good removal spell, so I think this one is going to be highly appreciated. Even though the damage is done, it is an enchantment. There is enchantment removal in the set, and everyone wants to play it because there's a bunch of enchantment creatures. But maybe they're out of that by now.
Well, I mean, it's there's always the chance. I mean, it's just like, every creature dies to Doomblade, whatever. Like, we understand that. But ultimately, the upside of this card, even at 6 mana, is very, very high.
Oh,
and is worth playing, absolutely. Evanescent. Ooh, Evanescent. There's my name. Intellect. Now, again, this is the blue sort of part of the cycle that lets you put a thing on a guy and do something dorky and,
Get to mill them. This time you mill.
And we'll get to Phoenix later.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, Phoenix is sweet. But yeah, this is just another one of those. It's when you have a block that created enchantments to not 2-for-1 yourself, when you see the 2-for-1 enchantments, they stop looking good at all.
Well, you also
not even a little.
No, the best part about this one is you 2-for-1 yourself without your opponent ever interacting with the card itself. Ugh. It's like, now I'm going to start milling you, and that'll take like 12 turns. I mean, you're still going to win.
Right. I hope you can answer this guy.
It's like, I might have a removal spell, and I'm like, okay, so if I kill it, he doesn't waste his creature, his enchantment, and 2 mana every turn. Nah, let him have it.
Yeah, you got me.
Yeah, wait till I have like 9 cards in my library. I'm like, now I'll kill it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people sort of, I think a lot of times overvalue the milling aspects of cards. And it's like, like when someone, what I think what happens is the psychological effect of, someone uses this card on the creature they have, and you go, like, and you flip over like some stupid bomb rare and something else. Your deck is random. Like you had the same chance to be like, land, okay spell, then you did land, bomb.
Yep.
And so if you put so much credence in like, I can't give them the chance to mill away X, well, maybe they're actually taking you 3 cards closer to the bomb. Not taking your bomb away. So there is this weird psychological effects that happen that I think people would immediately just
Why are you telling my secrets? Because when I play against opponents in Limited and they start milling me at like pre-releases, I'm just like, no, you took my card.
There you go. See, this is how it happens.
Yeah.
Don't play this card. This card's bad. Faded Infatuation.
I'm a big fan of this card. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I do like that, like, there's so many creatures in Standard that, like Master of Waves, that if you get an instant speed Master Waves, you want more Master Waves, because if your Master, even if you only have a couple tokens, lives, if you play a second one, now if they kill one, you still get to keep all the tokens from both of them. So having more copies of Master Wave is great. Maybe more copies of anything is just going to be awesome. So, and at worst, it is a 4-mana Rampant Growth. Mutavault.
Mutavault.
Yeah, copy Mutavault. Then,
man.
It is a
so
4-mana
sick.
Mutavault, or 4-mana Rampant Growth.
Unbelievable. Now, we're going to get to Eye Gouge next in our next review bit, but like, Mutavault just does so many different weird things in the format. It's crazy.
It's bad.
I know.
I wish they didn't print it.
I mean, in a way, it's really bad. And they were showing that like Mutavault is played more than Brainstorm and Legacy, which is insane.
Well, I mean,
like that's crazy. Let's be clear. That's really crazy. That's format warping crazy. That's $30 Mutavault crazy, which is what we're at right now.
That's all?
Yeah.
So they're higher.
Oh, no, I mean,
I think they're higher.
Really?
Yeah, I think they're 50.
No way.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh my God.
Pie bet?
No, that's silly. Oh my gosh. Anyway, but yeah, 4-mana Rampant Growth means this is brilliant. Faded Infatuation, obviously you can't copy anything or it would be way too powerful. At least at instant speed, I could see them saying copy target creature but make it sorcery. But, if it's your turn, scry 2, okay. I mean, if it's your turn, what are you doing? What are you doing?
I mean, I think this one will be scried a little bit more than Faded Retribution.
Oh yeah, fair. Yeah. But still.
It's going to be hard to play in Limited because Mono Blue is not a real thing.
Yeah, it's a tough mana cost in Limited. Real tough.
But it will see play. Like, just passing in against, like, control with Mono Blue into, like, their verdicts and stuff, and they verdict you, and you're like, okay, after that, animate my Mutavault, make a Mutavault, attack it for 4 or 6 if you have another one. Like,
it's not the worst in the world.
Yeah, it's not. It's pretty good, actually.
Sure. Litter Step, Eidolon. Flitter Step, Litter Step.
Okay. This card is awesome. It is so good. Like, think about like just a 2-mana 1/1 with flying. This is way better than that. This is not Invisible Stalker good. But like in Limited, if you have something big, +1/+1 kill you is going to be a real thing.
It's true.
Like, we're going to be sweating 6 mana when our opponents like have a lethal guy in play, but we can block it. Now we can't.
Oh, yeah.
So I think this card is very high pickable. Like, even like first, I could see it being worth it.
It's possible. I mean, basically, this card is kind of bananas in that it does everything you want to do, which is get past all these huge ground pounders, the monstrosity guys that you still have existing in Theros block, any random like 1/4 or whatever. But late in the game, it's an incredible top deck. It's also a game plan that you can kind of build into. You don't have to. You see your opening hand, you see this guy in it. You're not necessarily going to go, man, I can't wait to run this in turn 2. Like, no, I can't wait to do this on turn 2, and I'm going to do this, and then maybe when I get to this, I want to be able to flitter step and just bow.
I'm just going to jam this on turn 2
No,
and
you're
just
not.
attack every turn.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
it's
would.
unblockable.
Ah,
Just attack every single turn.
Brad value. It's really good and limited. Always play. Floodtide Serpent.
There's 2 things I know about this card. 1, I have no idea how good it's going to be. 2, what is that?
What is happening?
I know it's a serpent, but are those hands?
No, those are tentacly things.
I feel like we're back in Simic right now, like
It's-
just like some weird creation.
Yeah, it should be like a serpent weird because it's weird. And
Yeah.
it's weird. I mean, I guess this is one of those. This is one of those cards that, with like Afara's Enlightenment, this is the card that you want to have because you can return it, and let it attack,
Yeah.
and you return it and let it attack and blah blah.
I mean, there's a couple
But-
more. We're going to get to one of my favorite cards in the set, which is the 2 mana flying. We'll get to it, but it draws a card really for cheap. So you can like keep bouncing back like value cards like that, or just like your cheapest bestow card to make your heroic guy bigger.
Right. I mean, ultimately, 5 mana for a 4/4 is not insane, is not incredibly overpowered, but it's more about the ability to sort of how much can you abuse that trigger. How many times can
Yeah,
you bounce
it's going to be
it?
okay. Sometimes you play it, sometimes you don't.
Yeah, it's going to be all right. Yeah. I mean, in limited, when you have even maybe 2 good combos with it, you're probably
Oh
going
yeah, I mean it's still a 4/4 defender if you don't have any enchantments.
Sure. Kraken of the Straits.
This is a unique Magic card in my opinion. Like
Creatures with power less than the number of islands you control can't block it.
yeah, but it is
Interesting.
7 mana and what's gonna block it? Like unless you're chump blocking, like it is a cool card, but it costs 7 mana. I just love the like art because you see the boat and like the underwater and he's just chillaxing.
Yeah, there's the point where it cuts and you see underwater versus above water.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks really cool. I mean, obviously the ability is just kind of sweet and flavorful. This is one of those cards that's like, it's a good Magic card. It's a good, fine Magic card. Not unhappy with it. In limited, it should be fine. In sealed, it's going to be better because the format's a little slower to be able to drop ridiculous guys like this. But
Yeah.
7 mana 6/6s are fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's good.
And it gives you a reason to keep playing lands, which is good because like I think one of the biggest problems with newer players is they always hold lands they don't think they need, but then they like might top deck something and have 2 lands in play, and now they want both lands in play.
Right.
So like I actually really encourage Wizards to keep printing cards that just puts it into people's brains just to play your lands. Like I always play my lands, like even if I
Sure.
don't have any reason to because I'll never have 2 in my hand.
Right.
Because it's so bad to do that. And a lot of people do. They're like, maybe they think they're spells. It's like, you haven't played anything for 3 turns and I've been attacking you. Of course they're not spells. What do you think, I'm going to just forget about what happened in the middle of the game? Like, no.
They have solved the puzzle.
Yeah.
Even this past weekend where, there was a guy that had a Tombstalker and a Delver of Secrets, and the guy had, the 2020 Dark Depths token, the Merit Lage, and what they were talking about was that the guy. The person who was playing Rug Delver or Bug Delver or whatever was convinced that the other person had Punishing Fire, and if you had Punishing Fire, the game's basically over because the guy with the Merit Lage tokens at 3 has the Merit Lage, and then the Rug Delver has the 3/2 flyer and the 5/5 flyer. Basically, that guy's dead if he just turns them sideways. But for some reason, the Bug Delver had convinced himself that guy had Punishing Fire.
And he knew every card in his hand.
And he knew every card in his hand from like a
should've.
Taxian Probe or something.
Oh,
Whatever it
no,
was.
from Life of the Loam, probably.
From Life in the Loam. Yeah, no, because
Yeah.
he dredged Life in the Loam the turn before. So he knew he literally could not have drawn it. And he still
The
died.
days
People
go
convince
long,
themselves
yeah.
of the most insane things. And
Also,
that's
I
all
want to
I'm
know
getting
how
at
you
there.
beat a Merit Lage token. Like, Jerry Thompson, very powerful. And I don't know how you, like, are going to beat it eventually. Like, what are we just going to stare at each other until you do draw it?
Right. It's like, what are you drawing? It's going to do this thing. I don't know. Anyway, point is, Kraken's a fine Magic card. Bluffing is a thing. Don't bluff your lands because good players know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Meletus Astronomer.
I'm going to have some difficult times with the whole value thing. I'm just gonna be sitting there and I'm gonna have a heroic guy and this guy. It's like, oh, I want another. I have a lot of bestow in my deck. I have like a 34% chance of hitting a bestow creature, but I don't. It's not actually 34% because I don't do the math.
Math's hard.
It's tough, but
So hard.
I think I'm gonna go for it. Whiff. No.
Oh, and like your other heroic guy that would have been way better would,
Yeah.
does nothing. Anyway, this is a card that I thought was interesting in that Ben Blywise said might actually get there an Enchantress. I was like, interesting. I mean,
Well, but you have to target it.
yeah. I mean, you'd put something. You'd put like Enchantress.
What, a wild growth on it?
No, like Enchantress Presence or something else that they use to target a creature. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting.
Like
That's literally like
Legacy
the
Enchantress?
only angle I've got on this card. Otherwise, in limited, it's kind of and you're running the percentages and you're
Oh,
crossing
I
your
got
fingers.
it. I got it. I figured out what we do.
All right, so
Okay, first, how do we generate infinite mana? We got to generate infinite mana in standard.
standard. I
Yeah.
mean, okay, I'm sure there's plenty of ways to do that.
Okay, we got
Let's say
infinite
we
mana,
figured
right?
it out. All right.
Agoraphobia. You know agoraphobia. Do you forget agoraphobia?
That it keeps them tapped.
No, it gives it -5, -0, but you can keep returning to your hand.
Oh,
blue
yeah.
and
Oh,
keep
for the
playing
blue
it.
and two
Yeah,
colors.
yeah. Then we draw our deck. But my favorite combo in the entire set, if you have infinite mana, is later. We're getting to it.
Good. I don't want to talk about that guy anymore. Mind Reaver.
So I saw the stats. I saw 2/1. I saw double blue, and I was like, "This is going to be way better than Tidebinder Mage." And then I read it, and I decided it wasn't.
No, it's bad.
It's very
Sorry.
bad. It's like you target it a bunch, so then you have all this value invested in this creature, only to sacrifice it for a 1/1. Well, I don't like.
You had to like build it up. You had to use spells to do that.
I'm
And then
not
you
kidding.
Still had to pay.
I
mana,
am
and
not-
You still had to get a 1/1.
I am not a Magic card designer. I'm not. But if I was, and somebody showed me this card, I'd be like, "This isn't for you." I think maybe,
Free slaps.
yeah,
Who wants one?
right here. But really, it's like,
It's astoundingly bad.
yeah, it's like you build this up to not get a payoff at all. I mean, I feel like
payoff is a
you
1/1.
this card has created a new spot in binders for me. It is the What Was Wizards Thinking, and it's right beside Bow of Nylea.
See, and that guy's thinking the same thing. He's like, "What is Wizards doing here?
Why am I like
What
this?"
am I doing in this spell? Why do I exist?" No.
He's just very suicidal. That's what it is.
Nullified.
He wants to be a hero.
Literally thought this was just a reprint because I'm like, there's no way we went through 20 years of Magic and they have not used the word nullify on a spell.
They haven't, no.
That's it. That's nullify. Neat.
I like this. It's a card that can counter any side of a bestow creature, which is nice.
Which is cool.
And it's a good blue 1/1 against bestow creatures because you don't really want to play a null because a null is kind of boring and it doesn't hit the other creatures in the deck. It's like you have Boonsater and you have Nylea's Disciple, but you also have Pull Krano, so I can't really board a null in.
Right. So in that way, I think this is actually a really good card. I think it's going to be really good and limited.
Mm-hmm.
I think it maybe could see constructed play. It's just,
Nope.
it's not, I mean, it's 2 mana.
Nope.
It's 2 mana.
So is Syncopate.
All right, it's not going to see play. Syncopate's got us. Until Syncopate goes away, this card just cannot be in the conversation.
And then they'll probably reprint Mana Leak in M15.
Oh, God, I hope not. I think they learned their lesson the last time they
yeah, they
reprinted Mana League. It was a mess.
Well, the problem is these cards come out and they're just like, it was a mess then. It's like, no, you printed Delver, this, and Geist together.
You printed
Like,
X and
that's the
Y
problem,
and Z.
yeah.
People put the pieces together, and our format was me. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, Nullify is a fine card in Limited. I think it's going to hit all sorts. It hits all the cards you care about, essentially, in Limited. You care about their big creature bombs, and you care about their big bestow/creature bombs, and or their enchantments for example, the weapons.
Yeah.
Like, hell yeah, I want to stop a Spear of Heliod.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it hits a lot of things in this set. It's going to be really good and limited.
Except it doesn't hit a Spear of Heliod.
Oh, yeah, because it's not an aura. It's
not
just
an aura.
auras.
This is awkward. I'm sorry.
It's kind of an aura. It's a weapon.
It stops the bestow guys, just like this guy. Here's another Nyxborn. It's the Nyxborn Triton. He's fine. I mean,
They're just strict upgrades. I like that
it's
they're
Minotaur stats.
they've made so many. The one subtle thing I love about the set is they made so many ways to deal with enchantments that they get to make all these upgrades on these older commons. Like we've had 2/3s for 2 colors blue before, but this one is just strictly better.
Right.
But because it's an enchantment and there's more removal for it, So I like it, and then all the regular creatures that don't get bestow aren't going to get targeted by as much removal because a lot of the removal is really weak.
Sure.
That doesn't just straight up kill enchantment. So I'm liking all these, and this is a very good one. It's not as good as the Nomad, Nimbius Nomad, or
Sure.
I don't know names.
Nymphad or whatever it was?
Nymphad, yeah, whatever it is.
They gave it flying, +2/+2 and flying.
Yeah, and that was just strictly better, but this is also just a good replacement when you don't have it. You're going to get the 7th and 8th. You might not play it, you might, but it is a very good bestow creature.
Yeah, I mean, I like it a lot. I think this is sort of the ability to design in context, which is what I like. I think Wizards has realized that these blocks kind of live on their own in terms of, where their environment, that you kind of draw a little line around and you say, okay, you can sort of push in these different areas because all this other stuff is pushing back, and it all kind of works because of those things, because of the context of which you surrounded all these guys. And I think we'll see more of that in even turning to Nyx next time. So Oracle's Insight is officially my freaky art award for Born of the Gods. Really, it's not as bad as Sensory Deprivation with the guy with his mouth, and his eyes all, shut. But really,
so maybe
that's
people
freaky.
Maybe people get this, maybe they won't. But one of my old now I just lost it. It was on the tip of my tongue. But one of my old that does not help.
Freaky.
Yeah, one of my favorite games of all times, Kingdom Hearts, was Kingdom Hearts.
Okay.
And there was all about this black smoke stuff, and that happened a lot. So the first time I saw that, I was just like, I have to go play Kingdom Hearts again. But I actually love these kind of cards. These you get value out of it because if you play it and you draw a card and you get to scry and draw a card, then your opponent kills your guy. You only got 1 for 1 because this replaces itself immediately. But if they never deal with it, the game is over. You're just gonna win. You get so much manipulation. If you're digging for something, you get to dig 2 more cards a turn. Absolutely. That's 3 cards. That's a scry to the bottom and 2 draw steps to find your bomb. And so it doesn't take that long in a 40-card deck to get there.
Right. You're looking at almost 10% of whack in that regard.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm just, this also, it can trigger heroic when you need to be, and then when that heroic guy needs to sort of sit back and gain value, it can do that. If you got a guy with a huge toughness who's doing nothing but blocking, obviously this is the best card for it. This is one of those where you could look at it as an Inspire enabler, but it's a really, really good Inspire enabler. It's certainly a lot better than that mill card that we looked at earlier.
For sure. This is the best of them. And it's just going to be good to draw cards. I think that this is going to be a good limited card. It brings out the Dirtle in you. But it's probably one of the better versions, I think.
I like it a lot. Super crazy good and limited. Perplexing Chimera is weird.
I mean, it's only weird because I don't think our brains had the capacity to just see all of it. Yeah, of course, I play it. You can't play your Sphinx's Rev. If you play your Sphinx's Rev, I get your Sphinx's Rev. But the next turn, I can't kill your guy because you can just get control of that thing. And it's just weird. Supreme Verdict resets it. I don't think it's going to see standard play. But in limited, it's going to be fun. It's like currency exchange. It's just going to be really enjoyable to play with.
It's just really strange, and to me, when I was talking about it in the show, I was like, yes, they can't play their huge limited bomb because you just sort of get it, but the inverse is true, the game keeps going after you give them the Perplexing Chimera to the point where now you can't play your big huge bomb or whatever.
Yeah, but that's
then
fine.
You're going to get the Perplexing Chimera back.
That's fine because you didn't open any bombs because you got really unfortunate. You got to find a way to win.
So all you have was a 5-mana 3/3, and there you go.
You got to do what you got to do.
Oh man, super cool. That this is probably my favorite design of the set. This is one of those where you read it and you go, what? And then you kind of wrap your head around it, and it's it's super unique and cool. I've never seen anything like it. This was a really great design.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as confusing as currency exchange because I still kind of don't know how. It's gain control of target permanent that you don't control or own.
Or
and it's just
ownsies.
What?
Okay, but great, super great limit. This card is a first pick bomb because, again, once it's out in play, they basically have to kill it, or they have to give you something for it, or you have to give the option to get something for it.
Oh yeah, or if they go to kill it, you can just say you get control of it, and I'll kill your other guy, and then I'll just play a 3/3 for 3 and trade with it. And that's pretty cool.
If they want to, absolutely. And again, that's sort of the beauty of this design. Here's a Retraction Helix.
Finally, a unsummon that is more like a boomerang because you can hit any permanent, but at
non-land, but sure.
Not non-land, but you hit all the other permanents. But it is an Inspire enabler, so that's kind of cool.
Which is kind of why it exists.
Yeah, and especially in this format, I think it's great because they start building a big boat and you kill it. Or I say boat instead of battleship. I apologize.
Yeah, dude.
I really apologize, but once you put enough on a boat, it becomes a battleship.
Yeah, but but also in Jaws, they didn't say we're going to need a bigger battleship.
That's true.
We're going to need a bigger
We got
boat.
this. And there's like Krakens and things in here.
Right, it's crashing up and smashing boats. They don't smash
We
battleships.
brought it around. We
Battleship,
figured it out.
yeah, we're clever. But Retraction Helix is a fine limited card. It's not anything I think you're super crazy excited about playing, but
I am
it's good.
actually excited about it for the fact that
Why?
when they start building the battleship, you just dismantle it and they get like 2 2/2s and you hit your inspired. I think it's going to see way more play than you think. But because this format doesn't have that many like common speed like Doom Blades and things like that, so it's not, you're not going to get 2 for 1 that often.
Interesting.
And if they have double black, they might have Bile Blight.
I dig it. Now here's Siren of the Fanged Coast.
You just mean Air Elemental, right?
Yeah, it's just air elemental.
It's just Air Elemental.
I mean, come on, really? I mean, your opponent's just going to let you have a creature, seriously.
I mean, probably if it's like really bad, if the creature is really bad.
Like if it's a 1/1 token, that's the
That's all
only
you
time.
have?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like if you get to a board state, but at the same time, you played this card into a board state of them just having a token?
well, yeah, you don't do that. You
Right, I'm just explaining.
yeah.
That was the mistake. The mistake was not they only have crap. The mistake was you played this in the first place when all they had was garbage.
All right, so here is why
sweet.
it is sweet, but this is a good spot to understand why these cards are worse than non-tribute spells, because this has the same stats if your opponent pays a tribute as Elemental, and it practically is just a little bit better mind control if they don't, right?
A little
but
bit.
So you can't play it as either of these cards. So you have to wait until they have something so much more important than a 4/4 flyer to play your 4/4 flyer.
Right.
It's just like it's a waiting game. It's just like you have to wait. And so I don't like it in that aspect. It's going to see a lot of play. It's going to be good.
It's going to be good because it's an air elemental. Like it's going to be good because your goal is to make sure they have no creatures, so that you always get the air elemental. Because otherwise, when you give people that choice, you're going to get the crappy token, or you're going to get the little dork, or you're going to get something that you're like, oh man, I can't believe I stole it, and then they go bounce it, and you go, oh,
Yeah, I mean,
and not bounce this guy, bounce their guy that you stole with it.
but the one good thing is when you're really ahead on tempo and you just go dude, and you're attacking a bunch, and then you play this main phase 1 to take their blocker, and they're just like, oh, make it a 4/4, I'll kill it next turn, but I have to have my blocker.
Right.
But that's the best you got. Like, I'd rather have an Elemental or mind control.
I'd rather have either every single time, always.
Yeah.
Sphinx's Disciple. Okay.
I mean, this is something you're going to want to build your boat or / battleship
Build
around.
your boat around, get yours, and you sail on it and stuff.
He's kind of flying.
He's kind of. I mean, it's you're going to play it. It's a good card. It's just 5 mana. It's going to die. Like no one wants to give you that type of value. And by the time you play a 5 mana guy, or and then they can play a 5 mana / or a 6 mana guy depending, and then it's your turn again. Like
You have to attack.
Yeah, they really don't have an answer for the 2/2 flyer at that point. They can't block and kill it, and they really are not going to have an answer by the time it goes to their turn before you can get to your turn to untap it.
You're right. This is just a grieving site. It's just like so many cards that you have to invest so much to get your value into.
2 big mechanics that just grieve you all the time. Oh, Lapelli and Nagel, you guys kill me. Anyway, it's okay.
It's all right. He's
It's
got
o-
a sweet 6-pack. That's all I got.
His guy's ripped. He ain't got no legs.
Yeah, he does. There's a
Is
knee.
that a knee?
Yeah.
Okay, well he's just super ripped all over him. Stratus Walk.
This card I love because it's cantrips. It gives flying.
Yup.
And who cares if they can't block anything but flying? You're going to want to attack with your heroic creature anyway.
Right.
So I think this card is going to see a lot of play. It's a high pick. It works really well with all the heroic spells from the first deck, especially because blue-white is a really good heroic deck.
Yep.
So this is going to see a lot of play.
You know what I like? That this is a really interesting card that you could play on your opponent's creature to kill them. Because they can only block
yeah.
creatures with flying. You know what I mean? Like if you got like some sweet ground pounder, and you go like, that can only block creatures with flying.
That is so cool. I never thought you're a genius.
Woo! It's like you tapping your guys that are already tapped. You know,
Yeah.
me playing Stratus Walk on their guy. Yeah.
Giving your guys flying so you don't have to.
That's why we get paid the big bucks. All right.
You
Sudden
get paid
Storm.
for this?
No, Brad, I get nothing for this. Sudden Storm is a fine card. It's going, wow, instant speed, it's going to wreck some faces.
Yeah, I mean, I like the instant speed ones just for the fact that if you do it on their turn, then it's 2 turns that they don't get to attack, and 1 turn they don't get a block.
Exactly.
Yeah, you always get to choose with these type of effects if you don't want them to block for 2 turns and attack for 1, or the vice versa, attack for 2 or block for 1. And that's the instant speed. That's great about it. But I think these effects are going to be better in this format as opposed to most, because we haven't really seen, like Frostbite didn't see much play at all. But I think it's better in this set because you're investing so much onto one creature.
Right.
And if you just deal with their one creature, the more they invest onto one creature, the less creatures they have.
It's true.
And so then it's more important to deal with the 1 or 2 in play. So I finally think they found a good set for these tap effects.
Right. I mean, they've sort of been able to have their creatures be the bonuses on your creatures.
Yeah.
And so as such, they kind of sort of pile on onto this one thing, whereas before they would have to, have 2 or 3 options and this card wouldn't be nearly as good. And now it gets way better.
Yeah.
Really good, super good and limited. Nowhere good anywhere else. Now this one could be good and constructed, but your problem is that,
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Oh, there was a but.
I said could, but your problem is that when you play the mono blue devotion deck, this card doesn't fit.
Yeah.
It just doesn't fit. There's nowhere on your curve, all the way up to Master Waves and even beyond, that you want to save Thassa's rebuff versus just being proactively,
Yes.
playing a Night Veil Spectre, proactively playing a Thassa, proactively playing a whatever. It's like you hold off for this card, you're making your deck worse.
One of the things that Todd and I constantly talk about when we're like on our road trips or just in general when we're talking Magic is how, even though I am not a mono blue player, I really haven't played that much with the deck. I can tell, obviously, when I watch people play it on, like watching streams or just in general, that they sideboard in too many spells for their deck. So like the whole idea of playing cards like Cloudfin Raptor and Judge Familiar is you have payoff spells, and those payoff spells are like permanents, like Master Waves and Thassa and Bident of Thassa. It's not a counter spell. Like if you want to counter something, play Dissolve, but you can't play that many of them. So I am just not a fan of the spells that are the like actual non-permanent spells that are payoffs to these forced devotion permanent based decks. Like I just feel like there's just this disconnect in how good your hands are going to be because of it.
Right, and how good sort of your long game is as a result of it, and the push-pull of if they have a bunch of removal spells, Thassa's rebuff gets really bad. It's like, I mean, can you ever imagine a scenario in which, I guess the question is, when is the X assigned? Because so let's say someone's Thassa's rebuff something, and then you Doomblade Hero's Downfall, the Night Veil Spectre. At that point, is it -3? Because it certainly sounds like it is. So that's the thing. They could literally kill one of your guys. I'm trying to think of a more expensive mono blue thing that a less expensive spell would destroy. So that when Thassa's rebuff resolves, you actually have the mana available.
Oh, I mean that could potentially happen. One of the things
Just saying, that's a weird little corner case that this spell in particular does, because it's a non-permanent devotion card that is based on permanents that you control. When you have that setup, you have that fragility, if you will.
One of the things that I would have liked to see this card do, and I guess Wizards doesn't want it to happen, but I would have really loved to see this card, instead of counter target spell, exile target spell, so it can counter cards like Abrupt Decay and Supreme Verdict. Like I do feel like it's been too long in this format.
Exile target spell versus counter.
Exile it so Supreme Verdict doesn't just hose these mono blue devotion based decks. And like I think mono blue devotion is a good deck, but it is not good against Supreme Verdict based decks because it's just playing all these really bad creatures to get a payoff that Supreme Verdict just annihilates. So like I really wish that there was a counter spell that control decks couldn't play that would be good against control decks, and Thassa's rebuff was that setup point without it happening.
And part of it, but the other half I feel is that, the fact that Supreme Verdict kind of wrecks mono blue in that way is intentional and is really a stopgap that we need on the format.
It was not intentional.
Well, it's intentional against aggressive decks. The idea that Supreme Verdict is just like, burp, reset, even in, Legacy, Supreme Verdict, burp, we're resetting it. I think that's powerful in that, you want there to be limits to how good a deck is. And if this thing exiled, I think it might just go over the top.
Well, but the reason I'm saying that is there's cards in every single other archetype that punishes Supreme Verdict decks, like Mistcutter Hydras, Dragons, Planeswalker, stuff like that. But mono blue has none of those. So the mono blue matchup is really difficult for the blue side. And I think that's also a benefit for blue-white control decks. I think if mono blue had a trump for the blue-white decks, the format would be more imbalanced.
I think what you're trying to do is have me be sympathetic towards the mono blue devotion deck, and I ain't.
Really? Because I don't think it's actually that good.
I don't know. I just want a Pro Tour.
It won the first Pro Tour. Get over it.
No, it won a Pro Tour. It's very powerful. Like, it doesn't need an additional tool to stop its worst matchup. At that point, it won't have a worst matchup.
I mean, I think every match is pretty bad. It doesn't do that well.
Oh my. Anyway. Tromokratus. This card, I just loved it from the moment I saw it. I loved everything about it. I ranted about it in the show. Go.
All right, so the only thing that I think about when I saw this card, I was like, it has hexproof as long as it's staring at itself in the mirror. Like, that's pretty much what it is. It's like when it's just posing for you, it's like, yeah, can't touch this. Da, 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 da. But then when it does literally anything else, you can just dead. Sorry, buddy. Your
Anything
card
else, you're
was
dead.
so cool until now.
It's just a cool card. It's
Yeah.
not meant to do anything. For me, this is one of those, like, you can just show this to someone who doesn't really know the game, and you're like, look, it's this huge Kraken, and it's got this cool name, and there's all this mana up here, and there's these big numbers down there, and it's got all these cool abilities. Once you understand the game, these abilities are really sweet. Like, I just know that there's the Timmies of the world just need these cards to exist. They just want these things to happen. This card is going to make people happy, and that's what I like the most about it.
I don't get why it has to be legendary, though.
Well, because it's got a cool name, finally. It's not Tromo of the Kratos, It's like,
Sure.
Tromo, Lord of Kratos. Like, oh my God. Finally, a name that's not, like, completely embarrassing and has some, panache to it.
To be fair, I watch Game of Thrones, and this world is not the same, but it's kinda.
Yeah.
There's similarities.
Okay.
And I always get so bored. It's part of the world. It's like they always say, like, Lord blah from blah 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 blah.
Yeah, and it just gets old after a while. So
Yeah.
when I see a card like this, I'm like, yay, they didn't screw it up. They gave a cool, unique name to a legendary creature. Oh, good limited.
Just so you know, don't try to bestow onto it.
Don't do that. It
won't work.
Nope.
Oh no, it will. It's hexproof.
Well, I mean, it will fine, but, like, is it really necessary?
Is it ever?
Tromokratus is sweet. Vortex Elemental. This card is sweet. I think this card is just cool. I love the design on this one. I can just see Ken Nagel giggling as he's designing this crazy card. This card is cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we've had a couple of these effects before, like the Void, the 2/1 for 2 mana. I think it's still standard.
Sure.
Is it in 114? Maybe M13. I don't remember.
Avoid what?
It was like a 2/1 for 2 mana that had this same ability. It's like
Oh, yeah,
you
if it was blocked, you shuffle
or
both.
if you block, yeah, you pay 3 and tap it, and they shuffle both in.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I like this one. I wish it had a power, like just because it is just a 0/1.
So greedy.
Well, do you think it'll see play as a 0/1? I don't think so.
No, well, I mean, in terms of limited and sealed, I could play it. I mean, it'd be okay.
I wish it shuffled all things enchanted to it. That would be way cooler.
That would be neat. I agree. There's ways that they could have sort of tweaked this. I think, the core to this card and this sort of gameplay is that it gives you sort of a different angle on, blue removal. This is really a blue removal spell, but ultimately you're paying 6 mana to kill that thing. But again, when removal's bad, when there's not a lot of it, when this is really all they give you, it's not that bad. In the context of the block, this is not the worst option. This is not the worst option you could have.
Yeah, but I also believe it's uncommon because they don't want a million of these floating around in a limited format. It's
You
just
wouldn't
kind of
want it.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be gross.
Should have made it rare. Just so I didn't have to see it that much.
Just so you have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Whelming Wave is awesome because of octopuses. They put octopuses on a card. They put the word octopuses on a magic card. I think that's great. There's nothing else about this card.
Well, it finally, solved one mystery for me because I thought they were octopi.
Yeah,
Yeah, but they're not.
It's
I guess
way
not.
funnier and cooler as octopi. But octopuses is apparently correct. The rest of them, meh. I mean, this is rare because reasons.
It's interesting, and it's a mono blue wrath effect, kind of.
Sorta.
It can be
You're going to have you're going to have that deck that you open and seal that's going to have a bunch of Krakens and Whelming Wave, and you're going to get there, and it's going to be the coolest, best feeling ever. It really is. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's great. It's just a really strange card.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and I don't really know what else to say about it. I really don't. I got nothing. I want to talk about how it interacts with Mutavault, but it doesn't.
All Chromanticore. When
I
you thought
still
it
have nothing.
couldn't get any weirder. Got really weird in here.
I don't know what that thing is. The weird thing about that is like no other piece of art in this world has that background. It looks like they're in Mordor right now. Like, there's nothing in the set that looks like that.
It's weird. I
Even
guess
like
he's-
all the black cards are still in cities and stuff like
isn't
that.
he in the sky?
He's in the sky, but looking down, it's like all foggy
all-
and it looks like New Phyrexia.
It looks really weird. I don't get it. I don't know. I just, I kind of just sort of made fun of this card. It's got a lot of abilities.
Why? Why would you make fun of this card?
Yeah, why?
It just looks like any other Magic card
Yeah,
I've
it's
ever
like
seen.
everything ever. It's like a Squire with, gold frame. Like, no, it's just insanely weird. And, Kid Nagel wrote this incredibly long article about how sort of it came into being and all the thoughts behind it and stuff. And so I think that's great. He just gets all the crazy
Thought?
abilities. Yeah, all the crazy abilities, 5 different abilities, each representing their own, individual colors and blah, blah, blah. It's a cool, neat card. You're just not going to be able to really run it in limited.
No.
Ever. I mean,
Well, no, that's not true.
I mean, really? Are you going to have a mana fixing for that?
Well, you do have like Nylea's Presence and Shimmering Grottos and unicorns. Literal unicorns. I like how I can use unicorn in like this magical wonderland of
And
trying
you're
to
like-
cast a spell, and it works.
You're like literal unicorns. You're
yeah.
like, yeah,
You
literal
literally use unicorns to get rainbows.
unicorns make rainbows. They do not make chromanticores. Phoenix is awesome. Phoenix is the god of deception. He is the god of all the mill players.
Yes, and it's probably the best art of all the gods in my opinion too. It just looks the coolest
It
to me.
looks really
It's mostly
cool.
because he's got stuff he's doing.
Oh, yeah.
Look at him. He's got rocks in
thinking.
one hand. He's like rotating rocks.
Rotating millstones.
Yeah. Okay, but this is the card for my favorite combo if you had infinite mana. Do you want to hear it? Aetherling. Get that butt up.
Oh.
Todd and I were talking about it. Todd built a mill deck with a bunch of walls.
Even if you had infinite mana, like when you play him again, he has to wait.
Well, no. If you have him in play, you play Phoenix, and then you pump his butt all the way up.
Oh, I
you
see.
pump. You pump. You
Oh,
just
okay,
have like,
okay, I got it. And
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
then the one time. All right, that's cute. I mean, it's weird. It's this is a card that, I think all the spiky Esper players were just like, oh my god, I need this like ultimate, the best control god of all time. But no, like there are so many mill players. There's a reason Glimpse the Unthinkable is like a $20 card and Mind Funerals are $5 and all that stuff. Like this card speaks to those players in ways that I just literally can't think of a better way for it to. It just, you read it, it reads exciting to mill players. It has a lot of possibilities, even maybe constructed. We'll see.
I mean, there's
you know.
there's even like infinite combos that you can do too.
Absolutely. This card is full of possibility. It's full of excitement for the amount of cards it can mill, and it's also full of possibility with the amount of sort of combos that you can put up with it.
All right. I want you guys at home to do me a favor. In the comments of this video, I want you to give me as many 3 card combos you can think of with Phoenix. It can only be 3 cards. It's Phoenix and 2 other cards.
Okay.
I'll give you the first one.
All right.
Pilipala, Grand Architect, Phoenix.
Oh,
That's
yes.
mine. That's my 3.
Good gosh. I
Yeah.
can't think of one off the top of my head.
I know,
Sorry.
but I want to know what you guys have at home.
Wow. In the comment, 3 cards, you only get 3.
Yeah, and one of them
Figure
has
it
to be
out.
Phoenix.
Yes, always Phoenix. Card is sweet though. In limited, this card seems ridiculous.
Well, yeah, it's bonkers.
I was gonna say like
This
just
is
to
the
be
one
clear,
where
this is
you-
the Bonker McBonkerson God in limited.
Evan was incorrect in the white review. You just slam this card, high five all your friends, and then tell them that you will be milling all of them to death.
No cards for you. The card is sick. Absolutely sick. Siren of Silent Song. Love this card in limited. So good. It just
It is, yeah.
it's just beautiful. It's all the things I want that card to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best inspired card so far for the fact that it has evasion.
Yep.
It disrupts them on later turns, and it can start going right away. And even if the inspired doesn't take effect, it's still just a flyer, and that's great. So yeah, this is by far the best inspired card so far.
Absolutely. This is the Windrake that was pushed and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And it's one of those
Great
ones-
art.
Yeah, it's super cool. And when it gives you not just the 1 but the 2, I sort of read inspired and I'm like, okay, you untaps and they discard. And then you go like, oh, and they mill one. Like it's just like the oh cool. It just keeps going.
Yeah.
It's great, super good. You're really great and limited. You will love it if you're in those colors. Last card of our blue set review is Siren Song Lyre.
Probably the best inspired enabler, mostly because the ability is great. For 4 mana, you get to tap creatures down.
Right.
Or 6 mana, excuse
Yeah,
me.
my problem is 6. Wow.
Yeah, but this form, they can't, no, that is,
It's nice that
that's
it's broken
affordable.
up. It's
no,
broken
no, no.
up.
No. That I would, if it was any cheaper, I would be like, Wizards, what are you doing? This is the build the battleship.
Of course, I understand that. What I'm saying is, they kind of let you pay in installments.
That's
You know,
fine because
minute
they
here,
paid in
minute
installments,
there,
but like,
minute there.
you know,
Ah,
yeah.
they paid in installments. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm getting at? Yeah, they paid in installments. So did I. No, seriously. Obviously it's going to be really good. Yes, it's going to enable Inspired in ways that almost no other spell does. and
It
that's
also will
great.
double Inspire. You get 2 Inspire triggers off of this one.
What?
Yeah. You can tap my own guy. What did you think about that? huh?
Oh, clever. Yeah.
And then they're like, attack kill
They're
you.
like, yeah, whatever. You ain't blocking now, are you? But yeah, sure. Super cool card. I like it a lot. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was every blue card and some gold and an artifact of Born of the Gods. I hope you guys are having a good time. I'm enjoying it. You enjoying it?
It's all right.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything better to do.
I mean, whatever. It's what we do. Sit around and talk about Magic cards. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching. We'll be back here tomorrow with all the black cards for Evan Irwin.
Brad Nelson,
Tapping the cards.
so you don't have to.